In this video, I'm going to show you how you can use PowerPoint to create motion graphics to use in your videos. Stay tuned. I've been producing video projects now for well over 20 years, so I've got a great deal of experience with a lot of professional grade software packages. And when I'm doing motion graphics, I tend to go to either Adobe Premiere or After Effects or some tool like that because I know how to use it and I've got the ability to jump right in and get the job done quickly. But those tools are expensive. Not everyone has them. And also they can be a real steep learning curve that gets in the way of you getting the work done that you need to get done. Recently, I created an animated introduction for a video series using Photoshop and After Effects. I was very pleased with the way things turned out, but when I was done, I wanted to challenge myself and see whether I could recreate the animation using nothing more than PowerPoint. So I loaded all the graphics into PowerPoint, played around with it a little bit, and came up with a very, very good approximation. Not the same, not perfect, but still pretty darn good and may be good enough for most people. And it's certainly a lot easier to use the PowerPoint tools than it is to learn After Effects, and a lot cheaper too. So watch your screen. I'm going to show you first the finished video in After Effects, and then right after that will be the PowerPoint version of the same thing. Not bad, right? I mean, you can tell the difference. It's not exactly the same, but it's perfectly serviceable and it would work great on any content video that you're going to post up on Facebook or YouTube. So PowerPoint can get the job done. Let's jump over to the computer and I'll show you exactly how I did it, walk you through all the tools step by step so you can see how I did it, and then you can learn where all the major tools are that you'll need to do similar types of things and create your own motion graphics. So let's go take a look at the computer. This is the After Effects project that I set up to create the first version of that video using tools that I like to use, which produce really good results. But as you can see, it's a little bit complex for folks who don't have a whole lot of background in this. So I created multiple layers. I put all of these portions of the image together. You can see I've got the rotating background, all the pieces moving in and out. You can see that radial wipe. One of the nice things about this is it allowed me to move the center of the effect to the center of the sunburst there. It also let me move the center of where this logo comes up. And you'll notice it's very subtle, but you'll notice that it comes up, it goes a little past where it's going to stop, and then it snaps back. That's a really common way of kind of giving something a little bit of life in animation, is to do what they call an overshoot and return. And then I also have the backdrop for the text coming in here from the top. It's in 3D, so it's kind of dropping in, slightly different effect. And then I have half the letters on top coming in before the bottom starts to come in. So I played with the timing. I was able to do some finessing that I just couldn't do in the second version. That gives it that little extra edge, but it's fairly subtle stuff, and it may not be worth the sacrifices in having to learn all of this software, because then I created this. I made a second version which added in the white background and then had the fade out to white, which is actually kind of what's called a blowout, where all of the areas of the screen get brighter and brighter and brighter, so the parts that are already brightest at the beginning become really intense first and blow out to white, and the darker colors take time to blow out. And so it created a different effect than just a straight fade to white. But again, it's a subtle thing. It may not be worth the effort of having to go through and purchase and learn a package like After Effects. So now let's jump in and see what I did with the PowerPoint version of this to try and match as closely as I could the motion graphics in PowerPoint with simpler tools that are much more accessible. The PowerPoint version of this animation started off the same way as the After Effects, which is inside Photoshop. You can recreate a similar graphic basically in any image editing program that allows you to use layers. So Screen GIMP does this, and many others will as well. I use Photoshop. And the nice thing about After Effects is I can create all the different layers, get everything looking the way I want, and then save the whole thing and load it straight into After Effects, and it preserves all the layers and it lets me go in and animate all the individual pieces straight away. That doesn't happen when you go into PowerPoint. So the first thing you have to do is break all the parts into individual layers and save them one at a time. So I started off just by turning on and off various layers and saving things. I started with the background, saved that as a JPEG file, then I turned the background off. These little checkerboards mean that the background is invisible in Photoshop. It's similar for most other programs as well. And so then I went in and turned on the different layers, saved them as PNG files. PNG files allow you to preserve the transparent background so that you can stack things on top of each other and they'll show through properly. So I saved this piece, I saved the text, I saved the text background, and basically all the various pieces got saved individually, and then I loaded them into PowerPoint. So now that you've seen kind of how I set everything up first, let's go into PowerPoint and see how it all comes together. So here we are inside PowerPoint, and the thing we want to do first is delete these text boxes. We don't need them. PowerPoint adds them by default. We want to go into the Design tab, click on Page Setup, and change this from an on-screen 4:3 presentation to 16:9. Now that we have the blank canvas, we'll duplicate that for our second slide, which is going to be the blank white slide that we fade to at the end. Now we have everything set up. The first thing that we'll do is import all of our graphics that we exported from Photoshop. We'll start with the background, insert that. You'll notice the background doesn't quite cover, so I'm going to distort that just a little bit, stretch it out to fill. The rest of the graphics I can leave as is and they'll be close enough. Then we go from there to adding our background graphic. That's the little logo thing that pops up. That's next. And then the background for the text comes after that. And then we open up text 1, which goes over the box. It says hybrid video. And then the last piece is text 2, which has the sales pages text that appears at the bottom. So we have all of the elements stacked together on one single slide in PowerPoint. The next thing we need to do is go through and animate everything. To begin with, since we've been adding pictures, the Picture Tool tab is open, and inside the Picture Tool tab you'll see something called Selection Pane. You want to open that up. That shows us a stack of all of the elements that are on this slide. So if you turn them on and off, you can see the various pieces, and they're stacked up from the bottom in the order that we added them. Now, they're not terribly descriptive. I tend to go in and change the names of things. So this is background. This is worth the trouble because it will make it much easier to see what you're doing as you're adding the various layers of animation together, to be able to pick them out by name and see them. So we've got sales pages, hybrid video, text backdrop, the icon, and the background. So they're all stacked up, and you can use this selection pane to view them. The next thing we'll need to do is add our animations. We'll go over here to the animation tab, click on that, and then we want to open up the animation pane, which creates another little window on the side here that helps us to see all the animations. And this one is going to be processed from the top down. So whatever animation is first on the top here will happen first, and then it'll chunk through them from top to bottom. So this one is bottom up, this one is top down. To create an animation, just select the layer that you want to apply the animation to, and then click on the Add Animation button. Or if you can see the animation you want up here in the icons, you can just click on it and it will apply. Since the animation that I want isn't shown in the default ones, I'll need to come down and show more animations, and then the one I want is called Wedge. So I'll open that up and you can play that and see how it reveals the background. And that's pretty much what I want. That's not a bad timing. It feels pretty much what I want. You can go in here and select advanced options. Your basic options that you want to work with are when you want this to occur. Do you want it to wait for you to click a mouse key or something on the keyboard? Do you want it to start at the same time as whatever is happening before it, or do you want it to wait until whatever is happening before it is finished and then start and go through? For this one, we're going to start with on click, and that's when this frame is basically started. And then you can also come in here and adjust the timing. This little window lets you basically select everything as well. You can delay when something starts, so when the start action happens, it will wait in half-second increments. You can make it wait a half second, 1 second, 2 seconds before it does the animation. And then the duration is basically fairly coarse from very slow to very fast. That's essentially the options you have. This one I'm going to leave on 2 seconds medium. That was a nice feel. So there's the effect for the background. Next, we're going to bring the icon up. So we'll select that and add an animation. And for that, we're going to zoom. So it's going to basically zoom in. We can't control where it's zooming. It's going to zoom from the direct center of the frame. It's one of the limitations we have, but we'll apply that. And then we'll also select for this to start after the previous. So once the background is finished, it will come on. And you'll see how this little indicator of the animation, when it's happening kind of like a timeline, it jumps to the end. So it's going to start when this one's finished. So let's play that one through and we'll see. Boom, boom. And then as soon as that one comes on, we want the, actually make that a little faster, I think. Let's work on the timing of that. We'll have, it's already on very fast, so we're pretty much as fast as we can get there. Then the next thing is the text background. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to have it zoom in, and we'll set it to happen starting after previous, which means it's going to line up with the end of the icon zooming in, so they'll come one after the next, just like they did in the original animation. And then the last two will be the text. We want that to wipe on, so we could select that from up here since the wipe is showing. And then there will be effect options, and we want this one to wipe on from the left. And we want it to happen after the previous. So once the text background is in place, we'll have it start after previous. So you can see it now lining up. And I want that to be a little bit slower. So we'll make it fast instead of very fast. That's nice. And then the last piece is the sales pages text, which is also going to wipe in. So we'll add an animation to that, and we want it, select the options, we want it to wipe in from the opposite side. And then we want it to start at the exact same time, so we want it to start with the previous animation. So now you can see them together, and we want it to be at the same timing, so we'll make it fast, 1 second. So you can see now they're the same duration. You could have also selected it and dragged it to change the timing. You can do that visually. And now something we could do if we wanted to really match up what happened in the original After Effects video is we could make this delay. So instead of having the two wipe on from the left and right happen exactly at the same time, we could have this one pause for half a second, which would basically be half of the animation, so that it does the same thing as the After Effects, where it waited until the first half of this was revealed before this one started to reveal. So we can create that by adjusting our timing and have it delay 1/2 a second. So now you can see there's a little bit of a gap there before it starts. It's kind of shifted everything over just a little bit. And when we hit play, this is basically what happens. Not exactly what happened in the After Effects version. Doesn't have quite as much finesse, but it's pretty darn close. The last thing we want to do is fade to white, and to do that we just use a slide transition. So we click from slide 1 to slide 2, click here to the transitions tab, and just fade. And that's going to create a fade out. We're basically done with the animation. To go from here to a video, click on the File menu and then select Save and Send. And inside Save and Send, if you're using PowerPoint 2010 or later, you have the option to create a video. You want to set it to computer and HD displays, which will make a 1280 by 720 high definition video. It's possible for you to create a slideshow and then record yourself playing it back with mouse clicks, timing and narration and everything recorded, so it will basically record your presentation and then use that recording and the timings to make the video. In our case, we're just going to have it apply 5 seconds for each slide. So basically it'll show us the first slide for 5 seconds, which is blank white, before it triggers the first animation. Then it will do all the animations, transition to the second slide, and then hold that for 5 seconds and end the video. That's what I want, so I just leave that at default. Hit create video, and it's going to save it as a Windows Media video file. Just give it a name, find a place to send it, and hit save, and you're done. That's all it takes to get your video done. One of the things that's going to happen when you use Windows 2010 and later is you get very nice edges on your transitions, like that background coming on. There's a very soft edge on the background as it comes on, and the wiping on of the text is very subtle. If you have an older version of PowerPoint, it's possible to use third-party software to turn it into a video. You can't do it directly inside PowerPoint. And if you use those third-party tools, they tend to not have the subtlety to the transitions. So you'll have harder edges on your wipes and things like that. It won't have quite as much softness. So again, it's a subtle difference. May not be worth you upgrading to Microsoft PowerPoint 2010 if you don't already have it. But if you want those subtle effects and the ability to do the transitions inside PowerPoint and make everything happen inside PowerPoint, I recommend upgrading to the latest versions, because it will basically do everything for you in one tool. And as you can see, it's a pretty simple tool to use. A little bit coarse, can't really be super refined, but it creates a very nice result, and it's certainly a lot cheaper than purchasing After Effects and spending the time learning how to use that tool. Well, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. You've just learned all the skills that you need to create some really fantastic motion graphics inside PowerPoint and get a lot more out of the tool that you already have. Now, if you would like to download the actual PowerPoint project file that I created, you can do that over at the Easy Video Marketing website. That's cheapeasyvideo.com. If you don't have a membership, just create an account for yourself. It's free and fast. And then once you log in, you can follow the menus to find the location of the files, and also a copy of this video will be there as well, so if you want to review it, you could do that. And then if you have any questions, inside the members area there is a form on the right hand side of the page. You can ask me questions, you can ask for resources if there's something you'd like to see on the website, and then there's a ton of other resources on that website for you. Templates, tutorials, training materials, there's a whole lot more, and I'm adding more all the time. So please log into the website, grab that template file, check out all the other great stuff I have there for you, and have a great day.